Jai Hind, dear student of class 10th. Today we will continue the second chapter from onwards. Okay. Dear students, the policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt, but the decades of oppressions and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisselus, the Chief Luthulus, the Yusuf Dadus, and the Bram Fissers, the Robert Sobukways of our time, men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depths of operation to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and the gems lies beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is people, finer and truer than the purest diamond. My dear students, apartheid was the name of that problem, the problem that has been now finished. And what is apartheid? Apartheid means the variation on the basis of skin color. Okay, so now this apartheid had created a deep and a lasting wound. That means it has affected the society for a long time, and all of us that will spend for many years, if not generations. That means if the generation will not heal this, then definitely it will take a number of months to heal such a wound that the wound that apartheid had created. But we have faced the brutality, we have faced the oppressors that had unintended. We are not actually willing to be the part, but we will have to face that. Okay, and it was produced by a number of leaders that you can see here: Oliver Tambo's, Walter Sisulu, Chief Robert Sobukwe. So they were the people of courage. They were the people of courage, and definitely again here Nelson Mandela is describing that his country was rich, means South Africa was rich in minerals and the gems that lies under the soil. And but he recognized that these minerals and the gems are the not real wealth. The real wealth is its people. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage time and again. I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. From these strugglers, from these revolutionaries, what I have seen the meaning of courage. I have learned the meaning of courage. Nowadays, men and women's life are on their risk, and they were showing their strength. They were showing their ability to deal with any kind of hardship. And what I have further learned, I have learned that what's the actual mean of fear. What the actual mean of courage? Courage is not. That means the absence of fear, but triumph over it. Triumph means victory over it. And a man, if he is brave, then definitely he has conquered his fear. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to human heart and than its opposite. Even in grimace time in prison, when my comrades I were pushed to our limits, I would see glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to raise me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that cannot be hidden but never extinguished. Means no one comes on this planet, but no one born for hate. But we must learn to hate, because if we learn to hate, then definitely we will be aware to love. That's the human quality, that's the human heart. Naturally human heart is capable in love. Okay, so when and I have felt that when I was in prison, when my comrades were pushed to our limits means to the in our ability to bear that point, right? And I see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. And when we were facing hardship, when we were just facing a number of problems, one of the guard, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough, means the guard provide us the proper existence, the God provides us of goodness. And now man's goodness, a flame that cannot be hidden but never extinguished. The man's, if you are a good one, then definitely maybe for some time your goodness can be hidden, but it will never be extinguished, it will never be ended. So my dear students, I think you are continuously taking the revisions, that's why you will be able to understand it. Okay, now further we will discuss in life. Early man has twin obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligations to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people and inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence and secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father and a husband. That means, according to Nelson Mandela, there was two obligations. Two obligations means two responsibility. First responsibility goes to the family and the second one towards the nation. But what Nelson Mandela said, he was not previously insisted to follow the second obligations, but when he have seen the people are facing problem, people like him are facing problems, and problems like that they cannot have the appropriate post if, according to their capability, they were doing the different kinds of job, they are feeling the superiority or inferiority complexes. So that's why he insisted to be the part of that, and that's why they started struggling. But in the following of according to his followers, means whatever the job that he was doing, the job was to fight for his right, to fight for his virtue. And when he was fighting for that, when he was fighting for his people, he was following the second obligation towards the nation. But in other hand, he was unable to follow his first obligation, that was towards his family, as a son, as a brother, as a father and as a husband. I was not born with hunger or to be free. I was born free in every way that I could know, free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls, as long as I obeyed my father and abide by the customs of tribe. I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. That means I was not born with a hunger. That I means I was not born with a hunger to be free. Means I don't need freedom. I was also a usual boy like all of you, like every kids born. I was just like that. And when as long as I obeyed my father and abide my custom of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. But I was not able to tolerate all the things that was going wrong, right? All the things that was going, I can also pass my life as well as other peoples were passing, but I was not a person who can be used to. That's why I just raised the question, and I don't even think about the scale of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, learn my boyhood freedom was an illusion. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom not only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I choose. Later, a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedom of achieving my potential, of earning my keeping, and of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in lawful life. It was only when I began to learn of my boyhood freedom was an now at that time I just aware I was just aware that it was an illusion. My freedom was just an illusion. Actually, I am bound. I am feeling bondage like that. In earlier as a young boy, what I wanted the freedom to live what I like, to go where I want, to stay at night without any freedom curtaility. So that means my freedom was different. My freedom was having different point of view. That means what I wanted, I just need that. What I wanted, that what I like, that I need. I need it. So that was my point of view according to freedom when I was a young boy. But later it has been changed, and it has been changed. That means I need freedom according to my potential. And when I was marrying, I am having a family, the freedom was not accepted as a lawful life. That means I will have to follow a separate a very very crucial life for me. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and then that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was the desire for freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect, and that animated my life. That transferred a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms and I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chain of on anyone on of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all my people were the chains on me. That means, my dear students, when I just think about my problems, then I realize that after having a look of in my surroundings, that everyone inside my society, either my sisters, my friends, my other relatives, everyone was bound, everyone was feeling bondage, they were feeling like slaves. And at that time I realized that there is something that is going to be irregular, and for those irregularities I just cannot tolerate it. I was not a person that previously Nelson Mandela had said that he was not a person to be used to. That's why Nelson Mandela has decided to raise questions against that. And after that, Nelson Mandela was not able to survive with a very comfort life. Like now, after this time, his life has been changed. His point of views has been changed. His thoughts has been changed, and he started struggling. He was feeling that if a chain is passing around their people, then the chain he is also the part of that society, then definitely he is also bound, right? So I knew that the oppressors must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is looked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom. Just as surely I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressors are robbed of their humanity. Now at that time, I aware that the freedom must not be oppressed. A person must not be oppressed, means he must not be suppressed, right? And a man who is taken another man's to a prison, that means a freedom is a prisoner of hatred. A man is, if he is behind bars, at that time he will realize the meaning of the freedom. So my dear students, I realized that, and it's a narrow mindedness, it's a very cheap thinking if we are snatching out of someone else freedom, right? So freedom cannot be taken out if I am just taking out the freedom, if I am taking the freedom of someone else, that means I must also be realized that the freedom is the part of everyone, freedom is everyone's right, right? And both, if someone is taking freedom from someone else, that cannot be the superior one, definitely that's a narrow mindedness. My dear student, after this, now you can very well understand the views of Nelson Mandela, right? The lesson has been finished, and I think you have cleared all the point of views. And if you can't understand, then definitely you are free to ask the questions, definitely you are free to raise questions inside the class group, and the problems will be solved. But once again, I am going to tell you the reason of this story, the reason of this autobiography that Nelson Mandela had mentioned. The reason is this: Nelson Mandela was not a person to take all the things easily, in the sense that he didn't want to be used to. He was a person to raise the questions if something wrong is going to be happen. And in South Africa, apartheid means the this racial government was being discriminated. People were being discriminated on the ground of their colors, on the ground of skin color, and that was it was a heinous things, it was a very heinous things. As you can see that the for what it was very heinous, because after following the apartheid we cannot develop our society, a society cannot be grow up, right? So that's all about this chapter, my dear student, and everyone was following that, but Nelson Mandela was not a part of that type of person who can tolerate all the things, right? So this was all about this chapter once again, my dear students, and that's my information to you, that's my notification for you, all suggestion also, that you will revise this chapter once again. And further, if you are getting any problem, then definitely you can ask, you are free for it, right? So my dear students, now it's time to leave. We will meet in the next session of the video. Up to the time, thank you, have a nice day.